Over the next months, progress was slow due to the ongoing engine problems. A second engine design, the Heinkel He178, was also undergoing development, both as an interesting engine in its own right, as well as a potential replacement for the He178. In the meantime, alternative power plants were considered, including the Argus AS-014 pulse jet that famously powered the V-1 flying bomb. But Heinkel was not the only developer interested in the twin turbojet concept. A design team led by Willy Messerschmitt began work on Project 1065 in the fall of 1938, a full 9 months before Heinkel was able to demonstrate the He178 to Luftwaffe commanders. Because the Messerschmitt jet fighter allowed for a proper center of gravity through a slightly swept wing design, had considerable fuel capacity for its voracious BMW 003 engines, and could handle well at low speeds, the Reich Aviation Ministry, or the RLM, ordered 3 prototypes in July of 1940. The He280 project would ultimately be abandoned. These new prototypes fell under the label Messerschmitt 262, or the ME 262. The ME 262A1A Swallow was the first production model of the ME 262. The body was manufactured with 4 Mk108 30mm cannon mounted in the nose to aid in its role as an interceptor. Trial flights to test the first ME 262 V1 frame design commenced long before the BMW 003 engines were ready for flight. Test results were enough to secure further interest from the RLM. In July of 1941, as the German war machine blitzkrieged its way through Europe, 5 more prototypes were ordered. In November of 1941, the ME 262 V1 prototype was fitted with the long-awaited BMW 003 engines. In the spring of 1942, test pilot Fritz Wendel climbed into the powerful new machine, eager to test its limits in the air. However, upon takeoff, both BMWs experienced immediate failure, and Wendel was forced to limp back to base. Subsequent tests with other engine designs, like the UMO 004A, fared better. In July of 1942, Wendel climbed into the ME 262 V3 prototype and declared its handling and design as extremely impressive. Steps to advance this design would have commenced rapidly. However, the V3 prototype met with disaster and was accidentally destroyed during its second trial flight. Even with orders for jet fighter prototypes and the apparent buzz associated with the rapid advancements, the RLM remained indecisive. Heated discussions were the norm, with decision-makers about production of the Me-262 and an improved version of the Messerschmitt Bf-109 piston-powered fighter, dubbed the Me-209. Field Marshal Erhard Milch, as a very conservative Air Inspector General of the Luftwaffe, favoured the piston-powered Me-209 to the radical and still unproven Me-262. However, the need for progress and the uneasy state of the war in 1943 led the High Command to overrule him. Fighter ace Adolf Galland, the Luftwaffe's youngest lieutenant general in Germany at the time, was an early and outspokenly stubborn supporter of the advanced Me-262. After a series of test flights, he remarked on the new fighter, "It was as if an angel is pushing you." Galland's overwhelming support for the Me-262 resulted in the RLM's order for 100 production Me-262s. Regardless of Galland's enthusiasm for the fighter, he was a pilot, not an engineer, and problems inherent in the new technologies proved very difficult to overcome. The main challenge came from the new jet engines. These would endure much greater stresses than conventional piston engines. By 1943, the Reich was running out of such metals as tungsten and chromium, necessary for the high temperatures native to jet power. Testing was exhaustive, as engineers tried to find ways to cut corners in order to make